Minesweeper is not just a game. It is a complex artistic portrayal about war and ruin and hope in dire circumstances. Stay with me. Minesweeper was created in 1990 for Windows computers to teach people how to use the mouse. However, the origins of Minesweeper go back much further than 1990. Gunpowder, a main ingredient in any explosive device, was discovered in 9th century China. Soon, with the Mongolian invasion, gunpowder literally and figuratively exploded across the Eastern Hemisphere, creating guns and bombs that were used to destroy towns and villages and empires, inventions that only lead to ruin, with each new war being more ruinous than the last. That brings us to the invention of the landmine. Landmines are just bombs activated by a pressure plate on the ground. Hidden within the landscape, they are just as cruel as any other invention of war. Planted across the ground, one wrong move and your life is over. One wrong move and the lives of your entire battalion ends. There came a problem after World War II. There were too many, and it made places unsafe. The solution? Make German prisoners of war search the land for mines using sticks, an action so dangerous and inhumane that they had to get around the Geneva Conventions with technicalities. If they prodded the wrong place, they could risk their lives. To us, Minesweeper is a game where if you make the wrong choice, you just have to start over. But to them, it wasn't a game. It was their life, and if they chose wrong, they would never see their families again. They would never see their home or their friends or their job. They would never return back to their country free from the fascist dictatorship. They would never see the peace. They would die a soldier fighting in a war that they had no part in creating. Just people taken from their lives one day by their leaders and forced to fight for them. Instead of reaching a peace, their leaders decide to fight like children and sacrifice millions of lives, millions of stories that had yet to finish to please their little game. To them, all of this is just a game. The millions of lives, just a casualty of it. So when we play Minesweeper, there's always a somber silence behind it. The real stories that the game was based on continuing to be a game throughout time. The colorful bombs and flags masking behind it the true horrors of war. Almost propaganda-like in appearance, it hides the disturbing truth. A game born from a war crime. A game born from death and violence and despair and ruin. But I don't think that's the end of the story. Minesweeper is far more complex than its roots. In Minesweeper, you find yourself in a dangerous situation where anything that you do wrong will cause a horrible outcome. But in Minesweeper, you don't despair. You don't weep. You do. You know that there is an end, that eventually, after a while and a lot of hard work and stress, the field will be clear and the grass will grow once more. It teaches us that even though we find ourselves in a situation where we might think that there is nothing that can be done, there is always a solution, no matter how dire the situation. You cannot give up hope. You cannot brute force your way through the field. You have to think and use your brain to navigate the field. Minesweeper teaches us that even at our most hopeless, we must use our minds to find a way to win. I'm not just talking about Minesweeper. That's why Minesweeper is not just a game. It is a beautiful portrayal of our lives and hopeless situations and how we can overcome adversity. So, after a week of playing and ranking and talking about Minesweeper, I can finally say that I'm done. The purpose has been fulfilled. So before I end this series, I only have one last message to say. Thank you, Minesweeper.